Good morning, good morning, good morning. Happy Sunday to everyone. As you come into the room, I hope you have time to give me a few minutes of your time. And before we get started, as always, we just want to thank God for everything that He's done for us. If He never does another thing, He's already done enough for us. So we thank you. We thank Him for always being so good to us. And as you come into the room, we just want to thank God for another night, another day that was not promised to us. If you're on with me today, that means we made it through another week that was not promised. We thank Him for not making our bed our cooling board and not making our last night our last night. Hey, Mom, I see you. So I just want to lift up those that are bereaved this morning. We want to ask special prayer for the family of our dear sister, Stacy Lampkin Moyers. I heard that her homegoing was a celebration par excellent. We want to keep her husband and her children lifted up, as well as her sister Sybil and her brother Ryan and her dear aunt Bishop Sally Saunders and the Saunders family, and also in the loss of Darren Tilt Blackwell. I didn't know him personally, but I knew of the family, and so we want to ask prayer in the as they mourn his loss. So once again, Shenango Valley is getting hit on all sides. So we just want to keep you all lifted up, and just pray with those that are mourning today, because everybody get a turn. So it's not your turn to be sitting on the front row today, but everybody get a turn. And we also want to lift up our cousin Michael Allen as he recuperates and recovers in the rehab, and we want him to get strong and be independent again. And I want to ask a special prayer for my daughter from another mother, Jennifer Beal. She is going through her storm, and this is an ongoing storm for her. And God, you know what she stands in need of. So she's back in the hospital again. We want to lift her dear mother up in prayer, Anna and her father. They were the former pastors of AHOP. They're still there, but they just the retired pastors of AHOP in Xenia. And we just want to lift Mark and Anna Brooks up, and Jennifer's children, her husband, all her dear friends. She's such a light in the community. And so we just want to thank God for keeping her this long, because anybody that knows what's going on knows that it's all we have now is prayer. So we just want to just keep her family lifted up. And I see you all coming into the room. So good morning, Sister Terry, Nikki, Faye, Sister Trason. Good morning, everyone. And also, don't forget, today is our big CEO. That's Christian Entrepreneurs Organization Business Fair. So after church today, we want to invite everybody from the church and the community to walk back and see the gems that Allen Temple has. So all the black business owners that are members of this church, they have a table set up back there, and we also have a directory. So we're excited about that. And one last thing, I want to thank the 3rd District Missionary Society for inviting me to be a part of a panel discussion for their retreat, and it was wonderful. So I'm going to get started now. So now this one is a different one, and it's a little heavier than the other two I had prepared. But this one is titled Lethal Loyalty. Lethal Loyalty. And write that in the chat, because I want y'all to see how these words don't even fit together. So now this is one of those new terms that I'd never heard of until recently. And it caught my attention because these two words by themselves take on a life of their own. So I was having a hard time trying to make it make sense when you put them together. So listen, the definition of lethal is something that is harmful or destructive, anything dangerous enough to cause death. And the definition of loyalty is a strong feeling of support or allegiance. Now, let me say this about loyalty. I believe that some people have different definitions of loyalty, what they consider to be loyalty. But the definition of lethal loyalty is when you consistently choose your history over your destiny. Lethal loyalty. Lethal is something that's destructive. Loyalty is support or allegiance. So, in other words, you have an allegiance to something that can destroy you. So you choose to stay in a place of pain or stay stuck instead of choosing to move past all that hurt and move forward. Now, I believe most people value loyalty in different relationships in their lives. Like their family, they have loyal friends, their romantic partners, their jobs, some of the organizations they belong to, like fraternities, sororities, these groups, and of course their church. Now listen, I'm a big fan of loyalty. Don't get it twisted. And I know you all seen that video where you heard I feel that I'm loyal to who I need to be loyal to. And you got to choose your battles or choose your victories. Because you can't be loyal to everybody. When I told you it's an allegiance to somebody. And I heard a video say before, the girl said, when I'm loyal, I'm loyal. But when, I can't say the rest of it, but when my loyalty is trampled on, like it meant nothing to them, well, then I'm something else that I can say online. So now listen, when it comes to loyalty, it's not just talking about romantic relationships, because that's the first thing that comes to mind. No, because we can find issues with loyalty on our jobs. Now, I know all of you know somebody who is so loyal to their employer that they are blinded to the problems it could cause them. People like this will risk their own health for that job. Now, what are you talking about, Float? What I mean by that is they will put their own medical issues, their own medical concerns, their own family stuff on the back burner because they think that job needs them. They think that place can't run without them. They think everybody loves their dedication. But I tell you what, and I'm off script right now, you think that job loves you so much? You think that they admire your dedication so much? Well, go ahead and die and see how quick you're replaced. Now, I've heard people say that before, and some people use it as an excuse not to work. Or not to put any overtime in, or not to do anything extra, not to do anything that's not on their job description. That ain't what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a person that is so loyal that they've had a sharp pain going up the side of their head for weeks, but they can't get a day off because somebody else is already off. Or I know this doctor needs me, and I don't want to let anybody down on my job. Until you have a stroke at your job. Yeah, they're going to take care of you. They're going to wheel you down to the ER or call the 911 to come get you from that job. But then they're going to be looking for somebody else to take your spot. So I'm not telling people don't be loyal to your job. But I'm telling you don't be loyal to that job to the point that you risk your own health for that job. Because it's a business. I mean, even in the hospital, it's a business. Y'all see how insurance is and they're making decisions for doctors at this point. It's a business. So take care of yourself first, because if you don't put your oxygen mask on yourself first, you're not going to be able to help anybody else. So when you think everybody loves your dedication, and then one day you've served your purpose to them, and without warning, you're let go. See, I'm at the age now where ageism, which I used to hear as a young nurse, I was like, ageism is real. So I'm playing it where I am, which is fine. But I don't see the purpose of me leaving, trying to go start something new at my age, because you can get you a young person that's going to be here another 30, 40 years versus me that got like 5 or 10. So now you're in your feelings because they let you go. Now you feel used and discarded by a place or by people you work for from sunup to sundown. But now you realize that if you were on fire, they would not have even put you out. So what you need to do, don't dwell on it, because that season of your life is over. It's time to move on to your next season. And just like seasons change from spring to summer to fall to winter, your season's going to change. Hey, Dr. Felicia. I'm talking about lethal loyalty. Now, when it comes to loyalty in your family, this can be a slippery slope, because some family members will come at you with that old saying, well, you know, blood is thicker than water. Yeah, that's true. Blood is thicker than water. But But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about you being loyal or disloyal. And just because we have the same blood running in our veins does not mean I have to have a blind loyalty to you when I see what you're doing. When I saw what you was doing to the other family member. Well, what makes me think that I ain't got next? That's right, June. So what does blood being thicker than water have to do with you lying, with you manipulating, or you abusing that same family that you want to show you loyalty? It don't have a thing to do with it. See, gone are the days of what happens in this house stays in this house. Especially if what is happening in that house is hurting you, or maybe even pushing you to hurt yourself. See, one thing about these millennials and the Gen Xers, the ones that came after the baby boomers, I believe my generation is the last generation that kept in. Mama said, whatever happened in this house, stay in this house. That's no ma'am, no sir. Because that's why we have so many damaged adults. That's why we have so many damaged people right now, because they weren't allowed to tell. They weren't allowed to go get help for themselves. And what was happening in the house, the monster that was in the house was killing them, but they weren't allowed to tell nobody. That alcoholic father that was beating everybody and roaring, they weren't allowed to tell anybody. They weren't allowed to invite anybody to the house because you didn't want to be exposed, because you didn't know which alcoholic, which version of that parent. And I know I said father, but mother too. Which version of that alcoholic parent was going to show up if you dare invited one of your friends to your house? You didn't want to be exposed. Because people that are not going through abusive relationships, people that don't live in chaos constantly, people that don't have mothers that are cussing them from sun up to sundown, all because daddy ain't in the house, they don't understand what you're going through. So trust me, I get being loyal to your family. I know that's important. But I don't think being loyal to every member of your family is a deal breaker. And here's the thing about lethal loyalty. You're going to be so loyal to a person or a thing or a place that you're going to end up dying in that thing. And know what that person going to do? Move on to their next victim. Because trust me, if they're disloyal to you, you're not the only one that's getting a piece of their disloyalty. They're disloyal all around. My mother-in-law said, every dog that carry a bone, bring a bone. So you're not the only victim. And the problem is, because you are a victim and you're afraid to speak out because you can't tell what happened because they threaten you or they tell you all this is going to happen, you stay stuck and then other people get hurt. Now, I'm not saying it's your job to expose, but you got to go get help. And so these millennials and these younger people, they asking questions. They ain't taking no shorts. And I love that for them, because we didn't do that. We didn't have the fortitude to do that. We weren't raised in that kind of environment where you could ask a question, where you could say, this ain't fair. they didn't care if it wasn't fair. But my kids grew up with that. Now, wait, Mom, this ain't fair. You said, and we had to listen. Whether we liked it or not, we had to listen because they weren't being disrespectful. It's not disrespectful to ask a question. What are you hiding? If I can't ask you a question without you going off the deep end, well, then guess what? I'm done talking. And I'm going to get my answers from somebody else. I'm going to get my answers from another friend that don't know anything, don't know as much as I know. I'm going to get my answers from the street. If I can't ask you a question in the safety and at home, in my home that's supposed to be my safe space. Listen, I told y'all before, if my kids didn't have anything, they had a safe space in their house because that was our job and our responsibility. And that means if I had to fall out with anybody, I'd fall out with anybody about my kids because when they came home, they had to be safe. The world is not safe. The world wasn't going to treat them safe. But when they came home, they know we had them. And for those that didn't grow up with a safe space, it's not too late to get you one. I see my nephew, Damon. I see my daughter. I see these young folks on here. Don't be like us. When you get you some kids, don't punish them. Don't yell at them when they want to stop and talk to you. Take the time to stop and talk to them. Because if you don't, somebody else is going to talk to them. The dude on the street going to talk to her. She got questions that she want to ask you, mother. She got questions she want to ask you, father, but you so busy or you so mean and hateful that they don't feel like they can come to you. Well, there's a guy that'll listen. There's a girl that'll listen. There's a dealer that'll say, yeah, come here and let me. You don't have no money? Oh, they don't have no money for you. I can help you make some money real quick. Don't do that. Don't let your kids. Y'all listen. Don't be like us. All right. So another area where loyalty is found is in your church. Now, we're talking about lethal loyalty. Lethal means something is deadly and destructive. Loyalty means you have an allegiance to it. So how can you be loyal to something that's lethal, but it's a real thing? So now listen, people will fight you about their church. People will fight you about their pastor. But let me ask you a question. Are you being loyal to that building? We got a big, beautiful building. A tornado, a storm, a fire can come and burn it to the ground. Then what? Are you being loyal just to that pastor, but not to God? Because your loyalty belongs to him, not to man. Because we can let you down. Some of us let you down. We don't mean to, but we do. So your loyalty belongs to God. And if you're in a church where the pastor is preaching Jesus and salvation, then you stay there. If they got a stage, and you know what? I'm going there. If they done turn the church into a stage and you got disco lights and you got all this, and then turn it into a club, you run. I understand that we have to reach. Oh, Lord, I'm off script. I understand that we have to reach our young folks. I get that. Because I remember how the old folks were when I was young and I wanted to, whatever. But we don't have to reach young folks by bringing the world into the church. Absolutely not. And you can't find that in scripture. Y'all can't start changing up the scripture to fit what you want. Now, I didn't come here to preach today, but I know how people are loyal to church. And I don't understand what the pulpit, why people have taken the pulpit out of the church. I was always taught that the pulpit is in there, is raised above, not that the pastor is above anybody, but it's to pull people from the pits of hell, from the pits of life. But if it's a stage and everybody, telling y'all, some of y'all loyalty, y'all better run, because when you have to answer, he not gonna say, why'd you? You have to answer to that. And for those of my young folks on here that don't go to church, y'all better get you a church home. And internet pastors are not your church, because you can't call T.D. Jakes, you can't call Joel Osteen on the phone when you're in the hospital, but you can call Alphonse Allen. You can call Felicia Pearson Smith. You can call Reverend Terry Marshall. You can't call them. But I tell you what, you get sick in the hospital and try to call T.D. Jakes. You get sick in the hospital and try to get in touch with Kirk Franklin. Try to get in touch with any of them. And I'll wait for them to come visit you. Now, do you know why you belong to a particular church? Is it because you were raised in that church? Because we've all heard people say they belong to a church because their great-granddaddy put the first brick in there. Their granddaddy went there. Their daddy went to that church. Okay, but that was for them. I'm not saying leave your family church, but if you're not getting fed, then go to a church you're getting fed, but go to church. Are you at the church because they let you bring coffee into the church and they got a Starbucks in the foyer and they... Listen. God's house has to be protected. Just because you get to bring coffee in the church, you got a stage, you are not in a club. You're in God's house. Something has to still be sacred. Someplace has to still be sacred. These people that come off the street should see the difference. If they just left the club, they still got on club eyelashes and club makeup, and they walk into the church and it's a stage and lights, they don't know the difference. There has to be a difference. How are we helping them if we're trying to make it be like them? We can't make it easy for them. What's the incentive to come to God, to come to God's house if God's house looked like everybody else, like every club up the street? Now, I'm not knocking anybody that's loyal to their church and its ministry. But when you're spending all day and all night at church leads you to ignoring your responsibilities for your family, I got a problem with you. That's not admirable. That's being irresponsible. And you can't tell me that God wants you at the church from sun up to sundown, taking care of everybody, taking care of the pastor and all the other stuff in the church, and your family is going to hell in a handbasket. Because you know what's going to happen? You're going to look up one day, your kid's going to be gone, your mate going to be gone. And listen, about your mate being gone, they may not be gone physically, but emotionally and mentally, they checked out a long time ago. But you know why you didn't know? Because you was at the church wiping and washing and you were doing all the things that you're supposed to do at home. Your ministry starts at home first, and then it comes here. And all of this is because you chose to be out of the home more than you wanted to be in the home. And especially depending on the amount of history you all have. Now, I'm not saying that a person, you have people that are your A1 from day one. But I know people that were A1 day ones, and now you can't even look them in the face because at some point they changed and became disloyal. Because what about when your A1 or your ride or die lose their mind changes up on you? Now you have to make a decision whether you want to proceed with this friendship. Do I want to continue being their friend? How? Because you can't really trust them. Do I want to continue being their sounding board? How? Because you can't really trust them. Do I act like nothing happened? How? Because you can't really trust them. And only you can answer that question. Now let me remind you, when it comes to lethal loyalty in your friendships, there are some friendships that are toxic. And anything that's toxic can and will kill you. And so if you're in a toxic relationship with a friend, that friendship will get so heavy on you that it's going to leave scars. And it might not leave visible scars, but you're going to have internal scars from them. Now, lethal loyalty in relationships That's self-explanatory. Because you always see the article or commercial or movie about somebody that got mad and killed their whole family. But she stayed, even though she knew he was different. She stayed, even though she knew that he was dangerous and harmful. She stayed for whatever reason, and and it cost her life. And sometimes it costs your whole family. Romance and pain don't go together. Romance and manipulation do not go together. Romance, but you always sad and depressed in a relationship do not match. Y'all have to figure out, either going to be loyal or the thing is going to be lethal. You cannot have lethal loyalty. You can't fall on the sword for everybody. You can't. You cannot. You can't have blind loyalty to people without take them blinders off and see what they're really about. Now, I'm not saying that some of you on here, most of you on here probably got a ride or die. You got an A1 from day one that you know you can go to them, that you can say, hey, we got some stuff to do. They don't ask no questions. They just say, which car are we taking? You got people like that. But then you also have people that want to get close to you just so they can discover your weakness and then take it and use it against you later. And that's a dangerous person. That's a dangerous person. Anybody try to get to you and try to get your secrets and because you feel like you could trust them, and they take what you told them. They take your pain and they add more pain to you because they get mad and then they go tell it, or they did it because they were trying to use you. That's a dangerous person. And I pray that none of you are in a relationship like that. If you are, if you recognize yourself, if you recognize somebody that's going through this, get some help. Reach out to it. Get you a therapist. I done told y'all this before. Yeah, you can go to your pastor, but every pastor is not a therapist. Every pastor is not a counselor. And a good pastor is not going to counsel you through all this. They're going to do some brief therapy, and they're going to get you to the place you need to be. They're going to get you to an expert. So, listen, I knew this one was going to be heavy. I knew this one was going to be heavy because I never heard of lethal loyalty because it didn't make sense. But I'm telling y'all, this new generation, they got it together. We are breaking generational curses. Thank you, Lord. We are breaking generational curses. We are not keeping a closed mouth because we don't want people to know. Trust me, people already know. They just don't tell you. People already know what's going on. They just don't say anything about it. So you ain't really hiding nothing from anybody. So get you some help so you will heal, so you don't keep spilling over to that generation, the next generation to come and next generation to come. Because I don't know what we're going to leave this world to with the way things are now. You baby boomers, us baby boomers and older, y'all better stop saying stay in a child's place. That child you're talking to is 30 and 40 years old. Give me a break. That's your child, but they're not a child. They're a grown person. They have a mind of their own now. So you can't tell them to stay in a child's place. They grown. You should have did that when they were younger. You can't do that now. Now these kids will cut you off. They won't come. They got their own place, their own job. They won't never come see you. Now you the victim. Boy, bye. Okay, listen, I'm going to get off here because I know y'all got to go to church. But I thank y'all so much. This helped me. And I hope it'll help you. This helped me. I had blind loyalty to people when I was younger. I wanted people to like me, so I just did anything so they could like me. They didn't like me. They used me. They didn't care nothing about me. And they tossed me to the wayside. But not anymore. I'm in my season of no. This is my season of no. Can you do that? No. Are you able to? No. And I'm not going to explain it. My no, let your no be no. No. Nope. I ain't going to be able to do it. Nope. Nope. Y'all better get in a season to know. All right, I got to go because I've been start a whole other message. But thank you all. And listen, if you think this message can help anybody, please share it. Please share it. And listen, get in somebody's chair. Get in somebody's therapy chair. Get in somebody's, they got them online now. You could do Zoom therapy where just nobody around, just you and the therapist. However you got to get it done, get it done. All right, y'all have a blessed week, and I'll see you next Sunday.